Welcome to West Virginia Beer Roads, a podcast all about beer from a West Virginia perspective. I'm Erin McCoy, here with my podcast partner, Charles Bockway.
Well, Erin, we have a special holiday program today.
Well, what gave that away?
Maybe this Santa sweater I'm wearing.
Just kidding.
No, we're festive today because we're so fortunate to have 5 representatives from West Virginia breweries, and we're going to be talking all about beer in this most festive, wonderful time of year. So what do you say we get started?
I think we should. Let's do it.
Okay.
Here with us now from Bad Shepherd Beer Company in Charleston is Ross Williams. From Big Timber Brewing in Elkins is Chris Newsom. From High Ground Brewing in Terra Alta is Dallas Wolfe. From Morgantown Brewing Company is Cody Cheesebrough. And finally, from Weathered Ground Brewery in Cool Ridge is Sam Fonda.
Well, I want to thank you guys for joining with us today to talk about beer in this festive holiday season. And the first question I'm going to ask you is, what's your favorite holiday beer to drink and to brew? And I'm not talking about, just a traditional holiday style or a seasonal style, but really just what are you enjoying drinking and brewing this winter? And Ross Williams of Bad Shepherd Beer Company, we're going to start with you.
So I'd say probably my favorite these days is our coconut porter, coconut turnpike. So it has a little coffee, toasted coconut flakes, and a nice rich porter for cold weather.
Chris Newsom of Big Timber Brewing, what do you think?
I enjoy having the winter warmers. Sometimes I enjoy some spice. I was actually in the Northern Virginia area this weekend, and they actually put a rim around the glass. Sometimes that can be too much for me. I think I'd prefer like a half and half maybe for the option. But with that being said, nationally, I've been really digging into some Celebration by Sierra Nevada. Really good fresh hop beer.
Dallas Wolfe, High Ground Brewing, it's your turn.
All right, so for drinking, there's a lot of them to mention, but I guess Peace Among Worlds, which is our horchata porter. It's super good. It tastes like the horchata, which is the Mexican-inspired drink. Nice cinnamon, low ABV, so you don't get blasted when you're drinking it. And another one that I like that we have that comes out during Christmas time is the Woodsman, which is our Dunkel. I know that there's a lot of people that really into that one, and I particularly pretty much drink that almost all the time when I'm in the brewery during the winter months. And then some cross promotional love out to Weathered Ground for not Frost Notch, but Frosted Ground. I love that beer, and I tell Sam every time it comes out that I love it. So cheers to you, buddy. But as far as brewing goes, we really do enjoy making Peace Among Worlds. So I've said enough. Thank you.
Cody Cheesebrough, Morgantown Brewing Company. Your turn.
Gotta say my favorite beer to brew in the holiday season is the Holiday Blonde, just because we always make sure that's a brew day that, even though it's kind of an easy, simple, it's just a little 10-barrel batch, so we just kind of do one turn on the brew house and rent a fermenter, and it's an easy 6-hour day. We always make it an all hands on deck day, and it's kind of like a once a year, everyone gets together to just brew that beer for fun. So that one's my favorite one to brew, definitely. Favorite one to drink is probably my favorite one to drink the whole rest of the year, which is the Golden Boy Kolsch, which is on tap at the brew pub.
Sam Fonda, you're up now. Weathered Ground Brewery.
Yeah, my favorite beer I'm a sucker for seasonal stuff. So I love, when the winter months come around to brew and drink stuff with spices and some darker beers. When we lived in Charlotte and worked at a brewery there, we used to blend 2 beers, and I sort of copy that at home when I'm here. When we brewed our Frosted Ground, which is our winter lager with vanilla, I actually do sort of like a half and half, and that's what I'm having now. I'll do half of the winter lager, and then I'll top it off with our breakfast stout, and then I'll just sprinkle some cinnamon in there and sort of mix it around with my finger, and it's awesome. We might start doing that in the tap room, actually, like just a little blend maybe for fun. Love brewing Frosted Ground this year, our winter lager. This year, I think it turned out best batch yet, and yeah.
Well, we know that every little boy and girl and brewer has written down their holiday wish list and mailed it to the North Pole. So what is one thing you would like Santa to bring to your brewery this year? Dallas, Wolfe, you start this time.
I guess Christmas came early this year for me because we just got a new fermenter. So we got a 20 barrel fermenter this year, which is pretty great. So that was on my wish list, and I ended up getting it early. So good for us. So that's pretty cool. We're getting ready to incorporate it here very soon. Of course, I guess if Santa was to bring something to us that we don't already have, which we have a lot, which is a great staff and a great fan base, and that's like family. I'd say maybe a new canning line. The canning line we got is good, but it does give us a lot of grief. So it'd be nice to get an upgrade on that.
Cody Cheesebrough, you're up.
Man, I was joking. We do brewery tours. People ask, "Oh, do you have one of these or one of those?" Like they go to all the different breweries. And I would say, like in the world of beer, there's like a $75,000 toy for pretty much everything you could ever imagine. Luckily, the brew pub's been around for a while, so they've accumulated at least a few of those things. But I think if we could have anything gifted to us from, oh man, if anybody's listening, I don't even know who, but if we could have anything, I would love a pasteurizer so that we could do more can distribution. We don't have to sell everything right in house because we could have a longer shelf life. But that's a pie in the sky. That's a maybe one day in a distant timeline.
Sam, Fonda, your turn.
A little bit more normalcy, maybe in the world in general. I miss hanging out with all the guys on this Zoom, and I think half of that was kind of COVID stuff, and then the other half was we had a baby 11 months ago, and which is awesome, but I miss going to events and going to tap takeovers and going to festivals and stuff like that. And I want to do a lot more of that stuff this year, and get out there and mix it up with everybody. I miss a lot of people, and I want to get back to representing our company. I haven't really done that as much. Aaron and I haven't done that as much this past year, and we want to get back into that. Also, it'd be cool to have some new fermenters, like Dallas said, or some new equipment. That would also be really cool. Maybe we'll do that.
Now we'll hear from Ross Williams.
Well, I'll just say, Dallas, if Santa brings you a new canning line, I'll take your old one. But actually, we need a couple more Christmas trees down here, and now there's this Christmas tree shortage I'm hearing about. So yeah, Santa could drop off a few more Christmas trees in Charleston, I think. Canning line would be fine.
And finally, Chris Newsom, what do you think?
I think I'd pretty much echo everything that Dallas said. We were fortunate enough to get 2 new fermenters, so we have a total of 4 15-barrel fermenters now. And of course, a new canning line would be great. But I think ultimately, I would prefer to have a nice test batch system, probably something around the size of 5 barrels. Because right now we're basically test batching straight into our 15s, and it's scary from time to time because what if you do have to dump that batch? But yeah, 5 barrels would be a little more comforting than 15.
2020 and 2021 were years full of changes and challenges, most of which we could have never predicted ahead of time. But we're going to ask you to get out your crystal ball, peer into it, and tell me your prediction for your brewery or for the craft beer world in 2022. So make your prediction. And Sam, Fonda, I'm going to start out with you.
I don't know about the world, but for West Virginia, you know, I hear rumors that like a lot of people are moving into the state from big cities because they want to get out of the heavily populated areas and get into buying property in rural areas and stuff like that. And I hope that has a big economic boost in our state. And I hope that we get more craft beer drinkers come in, and I hope that helps out our local craft beer community. And I hope, you know, it's like that for other, you know, it's not rural anymore if everybody moves here, but I hope that we get a lot more craft beer drinkers and enthusiasts and people who want to spend money on high quality beer. And I can see that happening in 2022 here. I think that West Virginia beer has grown dramatically over the past couple of years, and even through the pandemic, a lot of breweries muscled through and you know, switched gears and did awesome stuff. And so I'm hoping that everybody I'm hoping that we and everybody else jumps into that and moves forward and yeah. I just hope it's a good year.
Cody, what's your crystal ball saying?
So obviously the past couple of years have been complicated for everybody in a lot of different ways. And I mean, everything that's happened has affected everyone differently. And tourism breweries were not treated too kindly amidst people just generally not leaving home nearly as often and traveling from city to city as often. And we're in a university town, so a lot of our business is kind of dependent on people coming and going for moving their kids in and out, the sporting events and everything the university brings, conferences. People in other parts of the state it's more like the outdoor activity. And I think that the economists have kind of looked at the situation. They're all generally agreeing that 2023 into 2024 is when the world is going to start to look like a little bit more like it did, as busy as it was in 2019 before the pandemic started, but with some permanent changes that have happened. So I think that, you know, I don't think anybody wants to really predict what's going to happen generally in the world anymore, because we always seem to get proven wrong over and over and over. But I do think that the breweries that have been able to pivot and make the changes that they've needed to make to get through everything that's happened over the past couple of years are going to have really bright futures moving forward, just because I think that everything will come back. It's going to take time for the market to build back its confidence.
Okay, Dallas, you're up.
So we haven't really talked about the style trends. This is just maybe wishful thinking, but I'm seeing a potential increase in interest in the more traditional, simplistic, well-executed styles of beer, like lagers and some of the more traditional ales, and maybe some more people out there that are not just totally dialed into the stout, IPA, sour categories. So maybe that's a crystal ball. Maybe that's just a little bit of wishful thinking, but I love those styles, and I hope to see you know people continue to do those. And then I think in the craft brewer world also, I think we may be up for some challenges financially as far as shipping and maybe some inventory availability. I know that I currently am getting hit pretty hard with shipping costs. I know that like it's almost 100 to 200% more money just for shipping for things that are on pallets right now, just depending on who you're going with and what you're ordering. So I'm hoping that goes away soon, but it doesn't look likely for 2022. So, hope it gets better, but I don't know. I think it's going to get. I think what we may end up seeing is some increases in pricing, not specifically from high ground. We're going to hold. We're going to stand fast as best as we can. But there you may see some increases in prices from other places, especially from breweries that are outside of the state of West Virginia, just due to the costs that it takes to move it out from some outer territories into our area. So you might see your Bells and other places get a little bit more expensive just because of the freight charges. So that's crystal ball is a little cloudy, but that's what I can see inside of it.
Chris, what do you think?
I once again agree with what Dallas was talking about. More traditional styles of beers, definitely some inventory issues. We had a big spout with IPA cans there. Took, I think, upwards of 7 to 8 months to get our truckload of cans. And once again, we're stuck without having any porter cans. So hopefully next week we're going to get a truckload of those cans. But back to the beers, I kind of feel that it's going to go towards the whole health conscious segment, gluten reduced. I know the non-alcohol beers are kind of becoming more popular. That's kind of being driven by the younger crowd for sure. So it'll be interesting to see how that evolves, develops, and gets bigger in that segment. But yeah, it's really tough to predict that exactly. But I'm definitely excited about the more traditional styles of beers to kind of break through a little bit more.
And last, Ross, what's your predictions?
So I feel like we're all kind of getting similar feedback from customers, maybe because we've seen seltzer go way down. That seltzer segment dropped off in a big way, bigger than they were expecting. But I'm seeing people like Pilsners. They're kind of wanting that easier drinking thing, but they don't want all that sugar or sweetness. I mean, they still like fruity beers, but the lighter lagers are definitely popular. And I have a beer with some more IBUs on tap. And maybe it's just a handful of people who happen to like that and I've interacted with, but they're enjoying some bitterness. So I could see some West Coast IPA action even.
And one final question we're going to get into with everybody. I'd like to hear some of the things that, based on all these predictions, we've talked about the future of the local brewing industry and just craft beer in general. What are some of the things that you think could enhance that legislatively or regulatory? What some changes that might be beneficial that would help our craft beer industry grow? Sam, you get to start this time again.
As far as laws go, I mean, I can't speak for us specifically, but I know other breweries have problems with it. Making label approval easier and more of a general, I know the breweries that go through distributors and the distributors demand label approval immediately. Getting that label approval is a big deal. And so maybe making that process easier, and then we all like to hang out and come up with different beers. So the collaboration thing, I'm not sure. That's kind of a gray area. I know we've talked to the Aaron at Short Story, who's our guild president, about that. It's kind of a gray area, but we all like to hang out and make different beers together, and so that would be cool if that was if it was just well known that that's accepted and we can do that. I know there's some more some more extreme things that other people would like to get changed probably, but maybe that's a little out of my ballpark. I don't have a lot to chime in on that.
Cody, what about you? Is there something specific you'd like to discuss?
Legislative goal that I would love to see change would be some kind of a term limit on the franchise agreements that breweries sign with distributors. So I tell the story all the time, and I'm always advocating for this. By the time Chris and I took over Morgantown Brewing Company, all of the different owners had already signed franchise agreements it was something like 17 different distributors all across West Virginia. And the state law dictates that you have to offer the same beers at the same prices to all of those different distributors, or else you're being discriminatory against them. So our decision was either, okay, we have to either be keeping thousands of kegs and running this huge distribution operation with all kinds of distributors calling us all times a day and moving a bunch of kegs that we can't really keep up with, or do no distribution at all and sell everything only at the brew pub, because all the contracts are for life. So I feel like it's reasonable to just say, why don't we just make the terms something like 2 years? And then if the distributor and the brewer both still like each other after 2 years, then you just renew it and you do the same thing again. I mean, I've worked with distributors. We've done I've done a lot. I've sold beer in a lot of different ways in the state of West Virginia. And it seems like when prohibition was repealed in the 20s, it was sort of a mad grab for who was going to make the rules. And that's a huge concession the brewers of the day made, was that all of the contracts had to be lifetime contracts. I don't even know of any other industry where something like that exists. And I feel like it's relatively low-hanging fruit legislatively that if the guild could get behind it, I think it's something we could really actually get done. That's definitely our biggest goal.
Dallas, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be brief because I feel like Cody really hit it. We're a self-distributing brewery, so this doesn't apply to us currently, but I do think that the distributor franchise contracts for lifetime and you can't get out of them is something that legislatively I'd like to see, because there may be a point in time where we want to maybe start dabbling in some distributors, and terrified to do it. It's one of those things where you get a contract and then, yeah, I mean, that's a lifetime. I mean, who knows, the ownership could change. I mean, you may end up liking somebody and you don't like them, or they're not representing your brand, or they're storing your beer incorrectly. There's all kinds of really scary things about it. And, that's why we're self-distributing, just because we're so paranoid about how our beer's handled. On the other hand, I understand why the spirit of the rule. It's one of those where, your smaller distributors, they, for instance, Preston Silver Eagle in Preston County, they're a small distributor. They distribute to Preston County. And if Anheuser-Busch would decide to get rid of them, then that would be be a death nail to them, because that's one of their major distribution. That's what they distribute for. So I get it. So maybe if your brewery has a certain, up to a certain barrel limit. So if you produce under so many thousand barrels annually, then, you have these 2-year contracts like Cody's talking about. And I feel like that's a little bit more, maybe a little bit more palatable for some of the distributors out there, to where, they're not feeling like they're backed into a corner to where they're now the people that are at risk. There has to be some happy medium to where everybody, everybody can be protected. Because the spirit of, the law that I think we're trying to achieve is that, nobody gets taken advantage of, and there's no law that sets somebody up for complete failure, or being put out of business. That's where I think it should go. And I totally agree. And, I'd love to see that happen. Thank you.
Chris, what do you think?
I definitely agree with Dallas and Cody. I see firsthand, of course, we'll get a distributor that comes and picks up from a very, very populous region, and they'll pick up a pallet of kegs, and then we'll get another distributor that will come up from another region where they have maybe a quarter of the population and pick up 4 to 5 pallets of kegs. And it seems like there's no way to create that competition between distributors to maybe incentivize the distributors to sell your product more. But it does require us to maybe put a little more boots on the ground, going door to door, saying, "Hey, come buy some good local beer." So I mean, maybe that's what it has to get back to a little bit more. But I would like to also see maybe some more into the shipping side of it. It would be cool to be able to send off some one-offs or like big specialty like pastry stouts or something like that. But unfortunately, we're not allowed to do that kind of thing.
And Ross, what do you have to add? Anything?
It's a lot to think about, and I'm pretty day to day, but it would be a monumental change to have something change with distributorship laws, and in that lifetime contract. It's always seemed like just such a crazy thing to me, and and I've seen the results just over and over again, where it goes really well sometimes and it goes terribly sometimes, and it can put a small brewery operation in a really tough spot if even one of their big distributors is not playing ball or just not working with them. Bad Shepherd self-distributes, and it's been worth it to keep up with that so far. There could be a day where we need some more help with the output, but probably not anytime soon. So.
Okay, well, that about wraps up our holiday session of West Virginia Beer Roads, guys. Those are some great predictions and wishes and hopeful changes that could happen to benefit craft beer in 2022. I hope for your sake and ours that all of our beer wishes and yours come true.
And thanks, everyone. Brew strong in 2022, and best wishes to you, your families, all your employees. We love what you do. So for co-host Aaron McCoy, I'm Charles Bachway saying thank you for tuning in to West Virginia Beer Roads. It's a production of BrewingStream.com.